We're reviewing for your test tomorrow over 6.4 to 6.8. The first thing I want you to do is name all pairs of corresponding angles and sides. Now, I have not given you the shapes, but that's okay. On your test tomorrow, you will have the shapes. But remember, when you're looking for corresponding angles and sides, it's really difficult to gauge it off of the figures because they'll be all rotated in different directions. I want you to use the sequencing. You will see that on your test tomorrow, the sequencing. Use the sequencing for your corresponding pairs of angles and sides. So go ahead and give me all four pairs of angles, corresponding angles and sides. So what are your pairs of angles? We start with the sequencing, G and P. No, the first in each one of the figures. So G and P. Oops. Okay, so G and P are congruent. H and Q. G. Oops, I forgot my angle sign. Angle G is congruent, or you could just say the word and. Either one is fine. Angle P. Angle H is congruent to angle Q. Angle J is congruent to angle R. And angle K is congruent to angle S. And what we're saying here is that our corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, they will have the same measure if they are truly similar figures. Now, the pairs of corresponding sides, we just start with the first two sides in each sequence. G and H is congruent to what? PQ. PQ. Side PQ. And then side HJ is congruent to side QR. And then side JK is congruent to side RS. And last but not least, first and last, GK is congruent to PS. Okay, so all pairs of corresponding sides. There you go. And like I said, instead of the congruent symbol, you can use the word and. I won't mark off for that. All right, now turn in your books to page 320. Page 320. You're going to see the similar sequence on number 23, except now they give you different dimensions, and I want you to find the ratio of the lengths of the corresponding sides. Page 320. We're doing number 23. Number 23. All right, so we need a proportion involving the ratios or the sides that we do know the measure. Okay, so we could start with GK because we know GK. Now this part, I'm not going to be super strict on actually writing the sides before making the substitution, but I do like to do this. GK over PS, I'm clearly showing what the corresponding side relationship is, GK to PS. Now I plug in my numbers, and it's going to be 9 over 5. Now, if you used JK to RS, you should have gotten 18 over 10, which reduces to 9 over 5. Either one of them give you that ratio, 9 over 5, okay? Got one of those on your test tomorrow. Any questions? Anything? All right, look at number 24. Number 24, I want you to find the ratio of the lengths of corresponding sides again, okay? So write that ratio, make sure it's reduced into simplest form. All right, so again, there's a couple choices. I'm just going to choose, well, which one did you choose? Yeah, KL over WX, all right, equals 8 over 12. Which equals 2/3. Okay, 2/3. Now look at number Look at number, what am I doing here? FG, number 25. I don't know where my 2 went. Look at number 25. Number 25. All right, it says, find side JM. Given that DEFG is similar to JKLM, I want you to find side JM. You're going to need a proportion here to find the unknown side. I believe you have 3 of these on your test tomorrow. Okay, so you do have a couple where you're finding the unknown side length using similar figures. All right, go ahead and try to solve. We're going to do 25 and 26. So we need a proportion involving side JM, all right? So one of the proportions, we've got to know both of the values for the corresponding side. So which one did you choose? All right, I chose, yes, FG. Oh, where did my F and G go? I chose FG over, what is its corresponding pair? FG over LM equals DG over JM, which is what I was solving for. Now, this part on your test tomorrow, I'm not necessarily going to take off if you don't have it, but you need to show the substitution. Okay, so 14 over 21 equals 10 over x. Do your cross products, divide, and x equals 15 centimeters. Did you get 15?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and skip number 26, but like I said, you have 3 of these on your test tomorrow.
Can you say JM equals 15?
That would be perfectly fine, yes, because you technically did find side JM. All right, let's talk about these scales. Okay, look at number 27 on page 321. It says a scale drawing has a scale of 1 inch to 3 yards. Use the given distance from the drawing to find the actual distance. Here, it's important to pay attention to how the ratios are set up. If I go inches over yards on one side of the proportion, the other side has to be inches over yards. Okay, so if my scale is 1 to 3, 1 inch to 3 yards, and it gives me which dimension in number 27? 7 inches. Would that go in the numerator or denominator? The numerator, because it's scale over actual. Now I do my cross products, and x equals 21 yards. How did I know it was 21 yards?
Because you're looking for the actual.
Because it's actual. It's in my denominator, and I know it's inches over yards. So if I'm finding actual, it's going to be yards. I want you to solve number 29. Same thing, set up the proportion and solve. All right, so it's 1 over 3 equals, does x go on top or bottom? Goes on the bottom. I'm still finding actual distance, 18 over x. X equals 54 yards. Okay. Now, this is not going to be your actual number 30. But you do have, let's see, 2 of these problems on your test tomorrow where it says write the scale without the units. So you have 1 centimeter to 2 meters. Write the scale without the units. Without the units, yes. So if you write a unit, then you actually get points off, which is, I know, sounds backwards, but yes, you're writing it without the units. Okay, so clearly I cannot just write 1 to 2 because my units are not the same. So I need to convert meters to centimeters. Well, how many centimeters are in a meter? 100. So how many are in 2 meters? 200. 1 to 200, box it in. Now, if somebody asked me, okay, can I write this as a fraction? Can I write it with the word 2? Technically, yes. There are 3 ways to show a ratio. Any one of the 3 ways would be fine. Fallon, you with me? Doing good? Alex? Okay. Any questions? Anything? All right. Number 31. All right. I want you to turn in your books to page 321. So look on the next page. All right. Look at numbers 31 through 34. Shouldn't take you long. This is more or less a warm-up. I'm going to give you some harder questions in a minute. But I want you to use the spinner to find the probability that when you spin it, it will stop on a 4, 3, 2, and a 1. Go ahead and write those probabilities. Yeah, you're going to answer all 4 of them real quick. Numbers 31 through 34. Number 31, how many favorable outcomes are there? How many favorable, guys? 2 favorable out of 8 possible, okay, which would be 1/4. Number 32, favorable over possible, 1/8. Number 33, 1/8. Number 34, 1/8. Very good, okay. And technically, writing at probability that you land on a 4, this would be the fully correct answer. I'm not going to count off on your test tomorrow if you don't have this part, but technically that's your goal. That's your favorable outcome, is landing on a 4. All right, now let's talk about the odds in favor and odds against. This is probably, oh wait, we're not there yet. I'm going to slide ahead. Okay, so now let's say we have numbers 1 through 30. Okay, so here we have a stack of cards numbered 1 through 30. Are you paying attention? What is the probability that you would draw a prime number? All right, find that ratio. What is the probability that you would draw a prime number? How many prime numbers are there? Nope. 10. Very good. 10 prime numbers out of 30 possible would be 1 out of every 3 cards drawn would be a prime number. Now, what's the probability that you would land on that you would draw a multiple of 3? How many multiples of 3 are there? 10. Again, so 10 out of 30 is 1/3 again. All right, now what is the probability that you would choose an odd number? What's the probability that you would draw an odd number? Write that ratio. There's a long way to figure this out and an easy way. The long way is to count them. The easy way is to know that half the numbers are going to be odd and half of the numbers are going to be even. Divide by 2, 15 over 30 is 1/2. Yeah, it's okay. You still get the right answer either way. All right, so now back to what I was saying, odds in favor and odds against. Okay, so this is probably the tougher part of your test tomorrow, and you saw this on the quiz too. All right, so here's my spinner, and it says, what are the odds in favor of landing on a 5? What are the odds in favor of landing on a 5? Okay, so remember, what is my ratio? Favorable over unfavorable. Okay, so there's no total involved. What's my ratio for odds against? Unfavorable over favorable. Now remember, what you're going for, okay, which is told to you in the question, that is your favorable outcome. Whether it goes in the numerator or denominator depends on what it's calling for, favorable or unfavorable, odds. Odds in favor or odds against, okay? So try to find odds in favor of landing on a 5. So how many favorable outcomes are there? 1. Out of how many unfavorable? 7. 1/7. Now, what are the odds against landing on a number greater than 6?
Counting 6?
You tell me. Greater than 6.
It's got to be big.
What are the odds against landing on a number greater than 6? So, guys, this is still your goal, or your favorable outcome is landing on a number greater than 6, but where does it go, top or bottom? This part, odds against, tells you which ratio to use. Okay, so remember, it's going to be unfavorable on top over favorable on the bottom. Well, how many favorable outcomes are there? How many numbers greater than 6 are there? 2. Does favorable go on top or bottom? Goes on the bottom. 2 goes on the bottom. How many unfavorable outcomes? 6 over 2 equals 3 over 1. Do you see that? Unfavorable over favorable. I'm still going for a number that's greater than 6. That's still my favorable, but when it's odds against, favorable goes in the denominator. All right, last thing would be our counting principle. Here's my options. How many outfits do I have, assuming that they all match and coordinate? How many outfit combinations?
2,376.
Okay, just make sure you label. All right, now let me, you're going to have to listen. So some of you, this will be a challenge, but just try to listen. Okay? You have a locker combination. This lock has 30 numbers on its dial. You turn the lock in order to open it, you turn it to the right, then to the left, then back to the right again. What are if you randomly choose one number on each turn, so 3 numbers total, what is the probability that you're going to get the correct combination, that you're going to land on the correct number on each turn?
Wait, how many?
What's the probability? There's 30 numbers on the dial.
Okay.
So if there's 30 possibilities on each turn, you have to multiply them together to get the total possible outcomes. And how many combinations will open that lock? 1. Now, you have 2 review questions on your test tomorrow. Both of them involve solving proportions. What are your 3 methods for solving proportions? Equivalent ratios, algebra, cross products. Solving a proportion. This is a review question back from earlier in chapter 6. What if I were to give you this proportion? And I said solve for x. Go ahead and solve for x. And guys, you're using cross products. Okay, the other 2 methods don't always work. All right, so we do our cross products. 14 times x plus 2 equals 7 times 49. So now we get 14x plus 28 equals what? 7 times 49? 343. Now we subtract 28 from both sides. Well, what do we get? All right, I'm going to have to squeeze it up here. 14x equals 315. Divide both sides by 14. And x equals what? 22.5. All right, so that's how I would solve a proportion. Your other one is even easier than that. So it's just same thing, cross products. For your bonus, here's a hint. You may want to review indirect measurement. Indirect measurement that involves setting up a proportion. All right, guys, that's everything you need to know for your test tomorrow.